This is still Donald Trump's race to win or lose. It has certainly trended in Kamala Harris's direction, but she's not necessarily in the lead, particularly in the swing states. And so you've got Rich Lowry from National Review, a conservative, who's on Fox News Sunday. He said this.
You know, he still is the president, still needs to be doing things, but I don't necessarily think his presence will hurt. I just don't think he will be on the trail with her as much as if he was running. So, they'll be selective of when they use him.
Maybe not as much as he seemed to indicate when he piped in his voice to the campaign headquarters and said, I'll be right out there with her. Rich, totally. Harris has been breaking records on fundraising. Trump is trying to keep pace, at least with the ad spending in Pennsylvania specifically. What does that tell you about this election, this race, and maybe even Harris?
She has obviously had a huge burst of momentum, right? She's gone from a month ago, she was a subpar vice president, and now she's the second coming of Barack Obama, basically. And a lot of it has to do with just sheer media adulation. A lot of it is relief among Democrats and no longer having Biden at the top of the ticket. But I think her case, and this goes to what we were talking about earlier, is basically, you guys maybe didn't like Trump and Biden very much. I'm a third force. I'm fresh and new. And what Trump has to argue is, no, she was an integral part of an administration that most Americans consider failed. The president's job approval rating is 40% or below for a reason, but it needs to be disciplined, it needs to be concentrated, and we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it needs to be disciplined, needs to be concentrated. We haven't seen that yet. That's from the right, Rich Lowry, editor of National Review. But here's David Axelrod, who's getting attacked for having this conversation on CNN.
Himself, who suddenly looks like the past and not the future. And so this is not the scenario the Trump campaign wanted. They thought they had this race under control. It is much more of a contest now.
Yeah, and look, she has a lot of momentum, but if you do look at the polling, this is still a really tight race. This is going to be a hard fight for either side, a tough, based on the numbers we're seeing right now.
100%. Look, I mean, anyone, there's a lot of irrational exuberance on the Democratic side of the aisle right now because there was despair for some period of time about what the November was going to look like. Now people feel like there's a chance. But it is absolutely Trump's race to lose right now. He is ahead, and he is ahead most of the battleground states. They're close. They could be won by either candidate. But there's a lot to be determined in the next 90 whatever days, 96 or whatever it is left. Yeah, I think it's a wide open race.
Now, we can stop there as David's dog starts barking in the background. He's getting attacked by Democrats for saying there's a lot of irrational exuberance about Kamala Harris. He's right. The problem with Trump in Atlanta on Saturday is he began to sow discord on the right among people on the right, and you have Trump diehard supporters who demand unity and loyalty for Trump while Trump shows none back to people like Brian Kemp, who already said in October of 2023 he'd support Trump over Joe Biden. If Donald Trump got the nomination, Kemp said he would support Donald Trump. He's been at the Republican National Convention in July saying he was supporting Donald Trump because of his policies, that he can put their personal issues behind them, and Donald Trump can't seem to put his issues behind. So you have people saying, well, why should I vote for this guy? 2 years at Kamala, we take back the Senate. We got the Supreme Court to protect us. We don't have Looper Bright. We don't have an expansive bureaucratic state. It's not going to be that bad for 2 years. That's what they're saying to themselves. I would disagree, but I understand why they're trying to talk themselves out of it. But the problem for Kamala Harris is, as Rich Lowry pointed out, she's still tied to Joe Biden. This is the polling division for CBS News released a poll that is superficially good for Kamala Harris, but it has problems for Harris in it.
The race to define Harris is underway. They're spending tens of millions of dollars in her campaign to play up the fact that she was a prosecutor and has worked with the president on various issues. The former president calling her a San Francisco liberal and doing other things. But on the issues also, does he still enjoy an advantage over Harris, now the Democrat, on the big issues or concerns of voters?
So that's really important because some things in this race have not changed. The idea that you would be better off financially if Trump were elected, Trump still has a big advantage over now Kamala Harris. on that. And the idea that his policies would slow or decrease the number of migrants trying to cross the border, that he still has an edge on. But to your point about defining Harris, well, there's a larger number who say they think her policies are similar, mostly the same, but not entirely the same as Joe Biden's. So it's that little bit of difference defining what that is that I do think is going to be key to watch in the campaign in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and to that point, the Trump campaign, again, Trump himself may be undisciplined. His campaign is actually very disciplined. And they've already got out an ad on social media. I assume they will drop this onto television and radio stations. But their ad, it literally just hit within the last hour after all the market turmoil. This is how quick of a turnaround they had.
Here we go. Look at them go down. What some would call history in the making. Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Bidenomics is working. It's working.
The stock market just taking a big old nosedive this morning.
Dow Jones is down about 1,010 points.
That is called Bidenomics.
The Dow fell more than 600 points Friday on a weaker than expected jobs report.
5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down.
Bidenomics is working.
Fears of a recession began after Friday's disappointing July jobs report.
Bidenomics is working.
A rise like that is historically a sign that a recession is imminent.
This is Bidenomics.
What you're seeing right now in the stock market is what Americans have been feeling for the last 3 years. It's just a manifestation of it right now.
All that is called Bidenomics.
That's the ad. Just dropped. Remarkable turnaround using audio commentary, television commentary from this morning. The ad is entitled Kamala Crash. They spell crash with a K instead of a C. Kamala Crash. They're circulating that. Listen, the economic turmoil benefits the Republicans because they're not in the White House. As I say all the time, as I said in the first hour of this program, disproportionately, presidents get credit and blame for economies when oftentimes it's not their fault, except in this case, because of what Joe Biden did to provoke inflation at the beginning of his administration, when even Democrats like Larry Summers warned him not to. They do get more of the blame, and they should because of inflation. There was not inflation when Donald Trump was president of the United States. That's why a majority of Americans, even though they don't care for Trump, liked his administration more. So again, this is still Trump's race to win or lose. But nature is healing itself in that regard as well, because Nate Silver, who has his projections from used to be 538.com, now it's just Nate Silver. He left 538 in the care of ABC, and they've promptly run it into the ground. He's on his own now, but he's got his model back. It had Trump winning for the first time. It has slipped into a favorability for Kamala Harris winning the race. Democrats for the last 6 to 8 months have been attacking Nate Silver as in the pocket of Donald Trump. Today, Democrats are citing Nate Silver, and Republicans are claiming he's been bought off by Kamala Harris. Nature is healing when the parties reverse themselves. It's still Trump's race. The economy being bad, a recession looming, it works towards Trump. But what the Trump campaign has to remember, what Donald Trump has to remember, is he may have adoring fans who surround him at the dinner table at Mar-a-Lago and at these rallies, but a majority of Americans don't care for him. He's got to stop reminding Americans why they don't care for him and remind them that they liked his administration. He's got to be able to do that. There are 91 days until the election. There are less than 60 days until early voting. He's got to stay on message. And on message means focusing on Harris, not on Brian Kemp or other Republicans. He attacked Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee, as a rhino. Why are you spending your time attacking Republicans you need to vote for you, Donald Trump? All you're doing is reminding them that maybe we could weather 2 years of Kamala Harris and take back the House and Senate and destroy Trumpism. This is from Bill Malugin. Per new Department of Homeland Security data provided to the Judiciary Committee between fiscal years 2021 and 2023, at least 99 illegal aliens on the FBI terror watch list were released into the United States after being arrested by Border Patrol at the southern border. Another 34 watch-listed aliens are still in DHS custody. Additionally, DHS data provided to the committee reveals terror watch list aliens from at least 36 different countries have been apprehended at the southern border under the Biden-Harris administration, including Afghanistan, Iraq, Lebanon, Kazakhstan, Mauritania, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, Tajikistan, Turkey, Uzbekistan, and Yemen. This is information Customs and Border Patrol refused to turn over via a FOIA request last year to Fox News, citing privacy concerns and minimal public interest. Fox has reached out to the Department of Homeland Security for comment. We'll update when we hear. The new Department of Homeland Security data comes in a just-released report from the House Judiciary Committee. Look, it's just a statement of fact. If there's a terror attack in this country from illegal aliens as this situation in the Middle East heats up, it's going to be pinned on the Biden-Harris administration. The economic meltdown pinned on the Biden-Harris administration. Donald Trump, it's his race to win, but it's his race to lose. And if he keeps spending his time attacking Republicans instead of Democrats, he's probably going to lose it. He can still win. He should still win. There needs to be some better focus on his part, and the campaign probably needs to firewall him from the crazies of social media so they stop whispering in his ear before he gets on a campaign stage.